It's the 23rd of July 2021. Today, the opening ceremonies are taking place for the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, but southwestern Japan is currently feeling the effects of Typhoon In-Fa, also known as Fabian in the Philippines. Not to mention we have Kempaka still out there west of Hong Kong. And look at this, a new tropical depression located south of the Ogasawara Islands, about 1,000 miles south of Tokyo. Low-level circulation is exposed, but it is there on visible satellite imagery. Still got plenty of shear with it, and this is that classic monsoonal gyre type of setup. You get all of that moisture wrapping in. Typically it's displaced off towards the right, so when this first starts to organize, we're not going to see a your classic setup here with the symmetrical shape and all that. Pretty much this is all that moisture that's going to be wrapping in on the eastern periphery of it, and as it moves off towards the north, it for sure could slowly develop, but it's likely going to be a big rainmaker as it pushes east of the Izu Islands and eventually could turn towards the west into early next week in and around the Tokyo area. This is a track from the Japan Meteorological Agency. By Tuesday and the Wednesday, they're expecting a landfall. The possibility of a tropical storm. They actually have this kind of going back to a low at that point, but it really depends on how well organized it is, shear, just a number of factors could play into this storm system at this time. High pressure towards the west could just bump it and not even have it make landfall. One thing I do want to note though, look at this though, we have some cooler sea surface temperatures south of Kyushu from Infa when it's lingering out there, but east of Honshu where this is headed, sea surface temperatures at this time about 2 to 3 to 4 degrees above average. So if this gets up here and upper level conditions at least become favorable, we could actually have a lot of fuel at the surface for this storm system to develop. So for sure, you know, we're going to keep an eye on it. And I'm sure the people out there with the Japan Meteorological Agency as well are keeping an eye on it too. This, by the way, is Infa, and boy, it is a potent storm system right now. Moving right over Miyako Jima with that eye. I mean, that's just pushed right over it there. And also we've been seeing that banding pushing in and across the southern Japanese islands. Been some very gusty winds throughout the day. Tropical storm strength. Winds right now estimate 139, gusting to 167 kilometers per hour. I think we saw a little bit of more intensification, though, with this over the last few hours. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to a Category 2 at this time, just because that low-level center continuing to almost tighten up a little bit compared to it was at this time yesterday. But this is the big thing with the major populations back here towards the east, and a lot of Americans, a lot of U.S. military out here just feeling the effects of those tropical storm strength conditions all day long. And actually max gusts in Nanjo and Okinawa, Honto, 122 kilometers per hour. Kadena had their max wind gust today, not Tuesday, of 87 kilometers per hour, 55 miles per hour there at the largest base there on the island. Naha also up to about 64. But if you look back towards Miyako, I didn't really check this in the last hour. We have seen gusts up to about 87, 140 kilometers per hour. I mean, that itself is potent enough, but the good news, the islands all across the southwestern Japan are built for these type of storms. This is the only thing you really have to worry about is your car, especially those little K cars. Sometimes those can get kind of moved out and about in some of those high winds. And I have seen this firsthand where the infrastructure holds tight in these storms, but those little light cars, they get tossed about if you get those winds high enough. Saturday morning, though, we're still going to start to see this move off towards the north and west, actually pick up a little bit of a pace as it moves northeast of Taipei before eventually moving, might be making landfall closer to Shanghai as well, over towards the Yangtze River Basin. By that point, though, Sunday, we're going to start to see some improving conditions for Okinawa. This is actually NAHA's forecast, multiple model comparison with the GFS, ECMWF, Icon, and Meteo Blue. Just like to show the multiple models because I know it's been prolonged. You're probably thinking, if you are in NAHA, when is this going to improve out here in Okinawa? All the models agree, and just because of that forward movement of our storm, by Sunday afternoon, you'll finally start to see the winds taper off just a bit to a more manageable level. Still see a breeze, more manageable. Back towards the west, though, it's all about that rainfall. It's going to be absolutely incredible, actually, total. Storms being very slow moving with that banding still impacting Okinawa today. Heavy rain also still expected out there in Taiwan. Those are the main points I am going to go watch the opening ceremony here in just a few minutes. So hopefully everybody's having a fantastic day. Stay safe out there. I know for some of you it's been really messy, especially in the southern Japanese islands. And for those of you in Tokyo, for sure going to keep an eye on that tropical system.